Hey everyone, this is the Comic Artist Pro Secrets channel. My name is Ethan Van Sciver. I'm but a humble superhero and ink merchant for DC Comics, and joining you here today to do kind of a quick video. It's going to be a commentary roundup. I'm going to talk about most of the extra covers that I did for Flash. I was very lucky to meet Jeff Johns very, very early in both of our careers and become friends and collaborators. And so he tended to invite me along when he was doing his projects in whatever capacity I could join him. And often that was covers. They'd call me up and ask me to do a cover or two. Um, and I loved it. I loved drawing the Flash. He and I were on the same page about a lot of these villains, a lot of these characters. And this was, I believe, after Flash Iron Heights, which I'll cover in a second review. That Flash Iron Heights was Jeff and my premiere collaboration. It was a prestige format, 48-page special that kind of launched his run with, who was it? Scott Collins as the interior penciler. But I did this gigantic special that established all of his villains and the Iron Heights prison and all that stuff. And then after that, much later, he called me up and said, "Hey, do some covers for the Flash." So this is the first one. This is Flash number 212, Jeff Johns. Cummings. Who's Cummings? It's not Captain Cummings. Stephen Cummings did the interiors of this book. I love Mirror Master. I thought he was a real creep. I think sometimes that mirrors can be scary. The idea that you're looking in the mirror and suddenly your reflection could do something differently than you're doing is terrifying. It's just a really neat concept, and he's a real scary villain if handled correctly. This cover was a lot of fun because I had this idea to just do this, split him down the middle. I'd seen the movie Hannibal, and in one scene, Hannibal Lecter was they were playing with his reflection in the mirror, and something like this happened, and it looked really ghoulish. Even though this pink spot here was meant to be teeth, that should be white instead of pink. I didn't argue because it still looked pretty scary. The great thing about this cover is I only had to draw half of it. I had them stat and reverse the other half and fit them together, and boom, I was paid for a full cover for only doing half of the work. You guys love hearing about stats. I know it. It's got to kind of like, you've got to feel a mixture of awe, like you're impressed and you're also kind of irritated by it, I'm sure. But stats are an effective tool in comics, and when they're used carefully, you can get a really neat cover like this. I then did the cover for 213, which I can't find. I'm going to have to order it, but it was a nice shot of Wally West becoming the Flash, and kind of iconic. Jeff liked it. It was all done in scratchy rapidograph, yeah, it was good. And then I did 214. Now this cover is very important to me. Now Joey Cavalieri called me up. He was the editor of the Flash, and he asked me to do this cover, and this was kind of a tie-in to Identity Crisis, I believe. Look at this, November 2004 is the title, or is the date on the book. So that means that this kind of happened right during or before Green Lantern Rebirth, because both Identity Crisis and Green Lantern Rebirth kind of happened at the same time. Maybe Identity Crisis was a month or two before, but they existed together. So this was a tie-in book to that series. And Joey Cavalieri called me up and he said, "Okay, so here's what you're going to do. Wally West has discovered some papers that Bart Allen left behind, and basically they've shook up his whole world on this cover. I mean, they've changed everything, and also they seem to have implicated the other Justice League members. So I want you to draw Wally West just like on his knees, like with these papers, and he's just devastated by them, and in the background, kind of shady, upset by this, by whatever they know, like ashamed of whatever they know he's reading. Hawkman and Zatanna, and I don't remember who else, but they're walking away from the scene, exposed for their secrets." And I went, okay. So I drew that, and it didn't come out that great. I turned it in. I spent a lot of time on it, but I didn't like it when I turned it in, and I knew it was going to be a cover I wasn't proud of. And it was the first time I ever got a cover kicked back to me by editorial. Sure enough, Joey said, "This just isn't what we're looking for, and we need this cover soon. So, figure it out." Well, I was reading the Jack Cole biography, and I don't know. I love Jack Cole. I love Plastic Man. Jack Cole is the creator of Plastic Man, who was just such an intellect, such an incredibly creative force. There was a great story in this book where back in the day, creators like Jack Cole and his partners would all have to work in a big warehouse studio. There was no air conditioning. This is the 1940s. So picture, a big open gigantic room, and there are desks everywhere, and the windows are open because it's stuffy and hot, and everyone's sweating, making $10 a page, kind of pumping out these comics. It was called Quality Comics at the time. That's what the company was. And these gigantic horseflies this long were flying around and making a nuisance of themselves. So one of the studio mates of Jack's said they saw him grab one with his hand and pull it down and do something, like this, and then let it go. And he had taped or glued a piece of paper to the horseflies behind that said "Drink Coca-Cola." Just let it fly around. So the man was a genius, and he was very funny. Something happened. Something went wrong in his life, and he killed himself in the 50s. He was working for Hugh Hefner at Playboy in the very early days doing cartoons, and I guess his life wasn't going well. Cut his own life tragically short, and nobody knows why, except for Hugh Hefner. And he never told anyone. So I love Jack Cole. This is a long way of saying that Jack Cole is he exists in my heart. So anyway, I went to bed that night and I had a dream, and in that dream, Jack Cole came to me, and he looked just like the picture in the biography. And I swear to God, this is true. I've told the story a few times, but it's better here with this. So with the book in front of me. So Jack Cole came to me in my dream, and he said, and I'm stressed out about this cover, getting it done. And he said, that wasn't how to draw this cover. This is what to draw. And he gave me this image. Like this, okay? And it was so crystal clear in my mind. And it was the ghost of Barry Allen with his bow tie and everything, popping a ring. And the ring is kind of like Plastic Man, isn't he? The costume inside the ring, and he's going shh over Wally West's shoulder as Wally West reads with a look of just shock and almost outrage Barry Allen's papers. And look at the top. The secret from the grave of the Flash. Does it give you goosebumps? Now, I jumped out of bed with all of this detail in mind, and I drew this cover in 3 hours. And it's quick. You can see it's a quicker cover. It needed to be in. They loved it. Where did this come from? Ethan, where did this idea come from? It came from Jack Cole. That's the story of the cover to Flash 214. The next cover is not that interesting. So they tried to relaunch the Flash again with Bart Allen, who, Wally was gone, Barry was dead, so they figured, eventually Bart Allen would graduate and become the Flash. Now, I was against this idea from the very beginning. I believed, and I used to tell them, I said that the reason why Max Mercury is training Impulse, this is Bart Allen as Impulse, and he had his own comic in the late 90s, early 2000s, and I drew it for a little while. I said the reason why Max Mercury was hired to take care of Bart so closely and put up with the frustration is that one day, and that day will never come in comic book time because we don't move forward too much like that, but one day everyone knows Bart Allen is going to grow up to be the most powerful Flash that's ever existed, because he's half Fawn. He's part of the Reverse Flash, Professor Zoom, Eobard Thawne. He is half Fawn on his mother's side, and right? Is that right? I think so. Yeah, I think Melanie Thawne. I have to think about it. Anyway, he's half Fawn and he's half Allen, so he's a half breed of these two warring families, the Hatfields and the McCoys. And one day he's going to grow up to be an incredibly powerful Flash that I called Godspeed. And I pitched that idea to DC, and they liked the general idea that Bart Allen was going to grow up to be a super powerful Flash one day. Maybe we could see that in future glimpses of him. They did not like the name Godspeed. They found it to have religious connotations, which they thought would be confusing. So more or less that idea was tossed. Now, of course, someone else came up with the name Godspeed as a Flash villain, and I saw that and went, I knew that was a good name. Anyway, it was supposed to be Bart Allen. Bart Allen would have grown up to be Godspeed, the ultimate Flash. And here he is on the cover in his various incarnations, that they decided to, instead of just having this delayed future that would never come, where Bart was going to become the ultimate Flash, they decided to speed that up real quick just so they could relaunch this new series. And so here he is, Flash, and then Kid Flash growing up a little bit. I aged his face, and then boom, here he is as a full-fledged adult Flash. This series did not last. It was troubled from the very beginning. Art problems, artists that were unable to meet their deadlines, and a troubled concept. They hired me to come on with issue number 9 and do some of the last covers before they axed this book. This, of course, was written by the great Mark Guggenheim. At this point, Mark did the best he could. I mean, that guy was great. He was working on a TV show at ABC called Brothers and Sisters, and he said he could get me Sally Field's autograph. I collect autographs on DVDs. If I would just send him a DVD of Gidget, and I never did, and I'm kicking myself for that now. Anyway, so this is a pretty good cover. I think Ivan Rice did a kind of better version of this layout later. But I thought this was pretty cool. I like the circle. I like all the lightning. This series failing is what directly led to Flash Rebirth being approved. Okay, so that's good. Next cover is, here we go, Flash number 10. So I think I was supposed to do 4 in a row, 4 covers before this was going to be canceled at issue 12. I don't know. Where did I get this idea from? I'm not sure. I think they said Barry Allen is arrested by and has to fight Professor Zoom. That was the rough concept. Sometimes covers are done before the book is even done. It's important they meet solicits and go in the catalog, so they need a cover. Oftentimes the book isn't written, it's not drawn, and this book was running behind. So they said in the book, Bart Allen, the Flash, is being arrested and he fights Zoom. And I said, okay, well, we'll combine all those into one image. And I came up with this, where he's being pushed into the police car, and look, Zoom is driving it. And then, amazingly, and I haven't looked at this since then. I mean, let's skip through this. Bear with me here. Oh, some of this is pretty good art. Imagine it. Oh, I can't remember. Maybe it was the next issue, but this scene did actually turn up, where he was put into a police car and Zoom was driving, and I was like, whoa. I either nailed it or he liked the image and he took it with him. But listen, I may have hallucinated that, because I can't find that to prove my story. That's pretty embarrassing. Oh, look at this, an ad for Green Lantern Rebirth, the hardcover. Ugh, so great. I will check the next issue and see if it is. Anyway, I like this cover, and one of the reasons why I like it is because I love his big boot here. Mark Millar once said in an interview that the reason why he loved Flash so much was because of his big, huge rubber yellow boots that just gigantic rubber treads on them, and that turned me on. I thought that was so cool, and I decided when I drew the Flash, he was always going to have those boots with the big fat rubber treads on them, because that just makes good sense, and I wish I had a pair. All right, so we'll toss that aside. Here is Flash number 11. Now again, I mean, Mark Guggenheim, great. They weren't giving me concepts. They said the villains stand over the Flash defeated all of his rogues, and they listed the rogues they wanted me to show. And I've seen that cover so many times. Now, how many times can you draw a superhero lying defeated in the rubble, and the villains standing over him victorious? It's just been done to death. No, it's not effective. So I thought of, hey, instead let's do his point of view if he's lying on the ground and the villains are above him. And Uh, Damn, I love this cover. I'm really, this is an effective cover that worked out great. I was on a roll. We have the villains, they're looking down, sneering and laughing. You can imagine if these guys, these punks, beat you down and you're on the ground looking up, and they're laughing at you and your pain, and they've taken your mask from you and they're splitting it like a wishbone. Look at that. That's another idea I had. Splitting the Flash mask like a wishbone between two of his biggest enemies. And even Heatwave is just like, hey, I'm going to set his boot on fire. Weather Wizard thinks it's funny. And then again, really nice, foreshortening or perspective with this big gigantic like leg. Okay, so it's like Captain Cold and Mirror Master both have their boots right on Flash's chest as they're doing this and laughing at him. This is a scary cover, but it's really fun to look at. And also we've got the circling buzzards above him, which means what? What does that mean? It means death. Okay, and all these things are very carefully thought out. These birds see that Flash is dying. This covers an A+. Every now and then I'm really happy with what I do, and I think I can look at it again and not want to throw up, and this is one of those times. Now the next cover was issue number 12, and I failed to get it done because I could not find the time to get it in, and somebody else drew it instead. And my idea was it was going to be like Flash dies at midnight, and my concept was, let me see if I can just sketch this now on the back of the script. And I'll bet I can't, because it's a great idea visually, and I don't know how I would have pulled it off. But it was going to be the Flash, okay? And his head is here, and he's upside down, okay? And he's tied down or something like that. Here's this little lightning symbol. These are the kind of layouts I do, by the way. They're very, very loose. And here's his little antenna. And I don't know, he's all beaten up and bloody. And he's tied to the top of a gigantic clock. Like this, okay? Here's the hands of the clock. And this hand is pointed at midnight, at 12. And then this hand, the minute hand, is right here. And it's sharp. And as soon as it hits midnight, it's going to decapitate him. Can you see that? Okay. And that was the idea. So his arms would have been tied down here, and that would have been the cover to issue 12. And it would have been like, Flash has minutes to live. I don't know what they would have said. I haven't thought about it since. But I have thought about this cover, and I wish I did finish it, because I think it's a really good idea. And what the cover artist who did it instead of me did was just have Flash, here's a clock like this, and then he had the Flash running across the clock. It's just another cover of the Flash running at the viewer. It's not effective. It's not scary. This would have been a good cover, and I wish I had done it. So those are my Flash covers. And after this, I believe Mark Waid took over the Flash. He brought Wally West back and had Wally with 2 children, and those children had superpowers, and that was going to be the theme of the book. And it just wasn't working. It just wasn't working out. And not too shortly after that, Jeff Johns called me and said, yeah, DC said that we could bring back Barry Allen in a series called Flash Rebirth. And so all of this is history. I hope you enjoyed this little insight, this commentary into a whole stack of Flash covers that I'd done. I'm Ethan Van Sciver, your buddy. This is Comic Artist Pro Secrets. Hey, tell your friends about this channel if they're interested in comics or drawing. Let them know. I could use some more subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed, that means you. Please hit the subscribe button, click that bell, and join me. We're going to be doing a lot more of these commentaries. The plan is to basically provide this channel with a commentary track for every single book I've ever done, so that basically, if you've read the book, you can go to this channel and you can hear my thoughts about the making of that book and some of the secret things hidden in that book. Or you may not have even heard of it, and listening to the commentary might inspire you to go to your local comic shop and buy the comic. And that is the best situation. That's what we want to happen. We want to support our local retailers. So again, please click subscribe. I appreciate all your support. This channel is growing Oh my God, it's growing like Godzilla. It's just fantastic. I really appreciate it. I'll be back a little bit later, and we're gonna do 1 point perspective. Thanks for tuning in. Bye bye.